Welcome to RP Revenge.
The first thing I noticed wasn't his voice, it was the silence that followed it. That kind of silence that doesn't come from a dropped call or bad reception, but from someone swallowing words they don't want you to hear. "Don't come," he finally said. His tone was calm, deliberate. Too deliberate. "It's just not a good time for you to be there, okay? Mom's been stressed. You know how she gets." I remember gripping my phone tighter until my knuckles paled. I could hear his engine idling in the background, the faint hum of traffic. It was Saturday, the day of his mother's birthday dinner, the day I'd already picked out a navy dress she once said made me look elegant. "You're saying I'd ruin it?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. A sigh. Long, weary, and falsely patient. "I didn't say that. You're twisting things again." Again. The word sliced through me. He had a way of planting blame like a seed, soft at first, almost invisible, until you realized it had grown vines around your throat. I wanted to argue. To ask why, after 2 years together, I suddenly wasn't welcome at a family dinner where I'd been every other year. But something in his voice, that rehearsed restraint, made me go still. So I said nothing. And in that silence, I felt the shift. The quiet click of something locking into place. The night of the dinner, I didn't go. I sat on my couch, lights dim, the half-open window letting in the hum of the city, cars passing like whispers of lives that weren't mine. My phone stayed face down. Still, I found myself glancing toward it every few minutes, expecting, hoping, to see his name flash across the screen. "Wish you were here. I miss you." Something. Nothing came. So I did what I always did when my thoughts grew loud. I opened my laptop. The pitch deck for my startup gleamed on the screen, a tangle of sleepless nights, caffeine, and stubborn hope. He'd once called it my cute little project. I called it my way out. And that night, when I refreshed my email, I saw the message that changed everything. Subject: "Congratulations, you're in." I blinked. Read it again. I'd been accepted into the top accelerator program in the city. The one we'd joked was impossible to crack. I laughed. Then I cried. Then I laughed again, alone in my apartment, wearing an old hoodie that still smelled faintly of his cologne. For a moment, I wanted to call him. To share it. To tell him we did it. But then I remembered his voice. "Don't come. You'll ruin it." I closed my laptop and sat in the quiet, the sound of distant laughter from a nearby building drifting in through the window. Maybe it was his family laughing. Maybe she was there, the family friend who'd started showing up at game nights, the one his sister always tagged in photos. The one who always stood a little too close to him. 2 days later, I found the photo. I hadn't been looking for it. It was on his sister's Instagram story, a quick boomerang of the dinner table. Champagne glasses clinking. Candles flickering. His mom in the center, radiant and tipsy. And just to her left, him. Arm draped around her. The family friend. They looked good together. Too good. The kind of good that doesn't happen overnight. I replayed it a dozen times. Zoomed in until the pixels blurred. His hand, familiar, possessive, rested just below her shoulder, thumb tracing a pattern I'd felt before on my own skin. I didn't cry right away. Instead, I stared at the screen until my vision pulsed, the image burning behind my eyelids like an afterimage of the sun. Then I laughed, a sharp, brittle sound that echoed through my apartment. It wasn't the betrayal itself that broke me. It was the ease of it. The way it fit, like it had always been part of his plan. That week, I vanished. At least from his world. No texts. No calls. No angry confrontation. When he finally reached out, 3 days later, his message was simple. "Hey. You've been quiet. Everything okay?" I stared at it for a long time, thumb hovering over the keyboard. Then I typed back. "Yeah. Just busy. Big news coming soon." And that was the truth. I threw myself into work, into my thing, the one he never believed would amount to anything. I wore exhaustion like armor. Every late night, every caffeine headache, every line of code felt like a reclamation of something he tried to shrink. By the time the accelerator's launch event came around, the one with investors, cameras, and press. I barely recognized the woman in the mirror. Sharper, calmer, dressed in tailored black and purpose. He hadn't asked about my work since that text. I doubted he even remembered the name of my company. But his mother did. She'd always liked me. Said I reminded her of herself when she was young, too ambitious for her own good. So when the invitation list leaked to social media, I wasn't surprised to see her name among the guests. And his. And hers. The family friend. The event was at a rooftop overlooking the skyline, all glass and gold light, the kind of place where everyone pretends they're not desperate to be seen. I arrived early. Checked the MIC, smiled at the PR team. But underneath it all, my pulse thrummed like a live wire. This wasn't about revenge. Not yet. This was about patience. When they finally walked in, I saw them before they saw me. He looked smug in that effortless way, hand at the small of her back, leaning close as if the world only existed in the space between them. She was in red, the same shade I used to wear because he said it made me look bold. I waited until his mother spotted me. Her face lit up. "Oh, sweetheart. You're here. I didn't know you'd be presenting tonight." He froze mid-step. Our eyes met across the crowd. The silence that followed was almost beautiful. "Of course she's here," his mother continued, oblivious. "She's the one with that wonderful startup I told you about, remember?" He blinked, his jaw tightening. "Right," he said slowly. "Of course." But I saw it, that flicker of unease. The split-second recalibration. I smiled. And that's when I knew, this was going to be better than any confrontation. When my turn came to present, the room dimmed. My heartbeat synced with the bass of the opening track. Spotlights. Cameras. Silence. I stepped forward, voice steady, hands sure. "This," I began, "started as something small, something people told me wasn't worth pursuing. But sometimes, the best ideas are the ones born from being underestimated." I didn't look at him. Not directly. But I could feel his gaze burning into me, confusion tangled with dawning recognition. The presentation unfolded flawlessly, numbers, projections, testimonials. Applause rippled through the crowd. Investors leaned forward. Phones flashed. And when it ended, the moderator stepped up. "Fantastic work. Truly inspiring. Tell us, what motivated you to start this company?" I paused. The city lights shimmered behind me, the skyline like a heartbeat. "Honestly," I said softly, "someone once told me I might ruin something important if I showed up. So instead of showing up where I wasn't wanted, I built something where I was needed." A soft murmur spread through the audience. And when I finally glanced toward him, his face was pale, eyes wide, the family friend staring between us in confusion. His mother beamed, oblivious. "That's my girl," she said proudly. And for the first time in months, I felt the satisfying click of power shifting back into my hands. After the applause, the crowd began to scatter toward the bar, chatter humming like bees in sunlight. I stepped off the stage, pulse still racing, my smile practiced, polished enough to hide the storm underneath. Then I felt it, the unmistakable brush of his hand on my elbow. "Can we talk?" His voice was low, urgent. Too careful, like he was already measuring his words. I turned slowly, meeting his eyes. The man who once swore he couldn't breathe without me now looked like someone gasping for air. I tilted my head. "Sure." We found a quiet spot near the balcony, city lights sprawling behind us like a million small confessions. He glanced over his shoulder. She was watching from across the room, pretending not to. "Congratulations," he said finally. "I had no idea you were doing all this." His tone dripped with forced casualness, but his eyes were darting, to the press badge on my lanyard, to the investors who'd just shaken my hand. He was trying to assess what my success meant for him. "You never asked," I said. He exhaled, rubbed the back of his neck, his old tell when he was nervous. "Look, about that night. I shouldn't have said what I said. Mom's birthday, it was complicated. You know how she gets about me." I interrupted softly. "You mean how she gets about me?" He flinched. That's not what I meant. I leaned against the railing, letting the cool metal steady me. It's exactly what you meant. You told me not to come because she would be there. He blinked. A flicker of panic crossed his face. Barely there, but enough. What are you talking about? I smiled. Don't insult me, Liam. His jaw tightened. He tried to reach for my hand. I pulled it back. I saw the photo, I said quietly. Your hand around her. The one from that night. He froze, color draining from his face. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The air between us thickened, filled with all the words we hadn't said, all the lies he thought he'd buried. Finally, he said, "It's not what you think." I almost laughed. The line was so predictable it was tragic. She's just a family friend, I finished for him. Yes, I remember. His mouth opened, then closed again. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was damning. Liam, I said softly, do you know what hurt the most? He didn't answer. It wasn't that you cheated. It was that you made me feel like the problem. Like I was too much, too ambitious, too inconvenient for the life you wanted. He looked away, jaw clenched. You're twisting things again. That word again. The one he used to make me doubt my own reality. Only this time, it didn't work. I straightened, adjusting my blazer. You said I'd ruin your mother's birthday if I showed up. But you know what's funny? What? He asked warily. She invited me here tonight. He blinked. What? She's one of the event sponsors. She believes in women-led ventures. Said she was proud of me. Told me she couldn't wait for her son to meet the brilliant woman running the startup she invested in. It took a second for the realization to hit him, the math connecting in his head like a slap. His mother. My company. The overlap. You're lying, he said, but it came out weak. I didn't have to answer. At that moment, his mother approached, beaming. There you are, darling. I just introduced your idea to 3 of my friends. They're thrilled. Liam turned toward her, color creeping up his neck. Mom. Oh, and you two know each other? She asked brightly, glancing between us. I smiled. We did. For a while. Her brows rose slightly, but she didn't press. Instead, she leaned in conspiratorially. Isn't she incredible, Liam? I told you she reminded me of myself. Independent. Fearless. He forced a thin smile. Yeah, she's something. Then his mother's gaze shifted past him, to the woman in red, who was now pretending to study the dessert table. Oh, she said slowly, recognition dawning. Is that Caroline? Liam's face stiffened. Yeah. She came with me. The silence that followed was sharp. His mother blinked, once, twice, then turned back to me, the faintest apology flickering in her eyes. I saved her the discomfort. It's fine, I said smoothly. We've met. I let the words hang there, delicate and poisonous. Then I smiled, shook his mother's hand, and excused myself before anyone could respond. I found the PR director near the bar. Is it still time for one last announcement? I asked. He grinned. For you. Always. Minutes later, the lights dimmed again. The crowd hushed. I stepped back onto the stage, microphone in hand. Before we close, I began, I'd like to thank the people who doubted me. Because without them, this company wouldn't exist. A ripple of laughter moved through the audience, light and unassuming, but I wasn't joking. There were days, I continued, voice soft but steady, when I was told I might ruin something just by showing up. That I was too much. Too ambitious. But here's the truth, when people try to shrink you, it's only because they're afraid of the space you might fill. The applause was louder this time. I let it swell. Let it wash over me. Then, with deliberate calm, I said, so this is for every person who was told they didn't belong somewhere. Show up anyway. Even if you have to build the room yourself. As the crowd rose to their feet, I caught his face again in the sea of lights. He looked pale, hollow, like a man realizing he'd just been written out of a story he once thought he was the main character in. The family friend stood beside him, arms crossed, eyes sharp and questioning. And his mother, God bless her, was clapping the loudest. I left before he could find me again. Outside, the air was cool, laced with rain. The city smelled like petrichor and electricity, the kind of night that feels like rebirth. As I walked toward my car, my phone buzzed. A text from him. Can we talk? Please. I messed up. I miss you. I stared at the screen for a long moment. Then I typed back. You told me not to show up, remember? I hit send. And for the first time since that phone call, I finally breathed, fully, freely. I didn't need to ruin anything. He'd done that himself. All I had to do was show up where I belonged.